Shane,
Barrett,
what's up, man?
good to see you, brother. How we doing today?
Good to be seen. I'm having a really good day. I woke up in a good mood.
What's got you going so good today, you think?
I had a pretty productive, my morning work session. And so I
Good
think that just
productive
kind of
day.
kicked me off in a good spot. Usually Thursdays I'm dragging, and it wasn't the case. I also slept 30 or 45 minutes later on Tuesday and Wednesday. I forgot what day it
You
is.
think that's still paying off?
Big time. It was like I purposely did it. I did just oversleep.
You set
Sleep
your
is a
alarm a little
superpower.
later.
Yeah, I set my alarm a little later. Just felt worn out and trying to listen to the body. And it's paying dividends. Probably like
Good.
a little bit of uh, momentum from that as well.
How was Graham's day at daycare today?
Uninterested in talking about it. Just wanted to work out, throw the baseball. So I'm not sure.
Good, good. So it was a
It
good day
was
then.
yeah. He was out on sharing his experience at school and was just locked in when he walked in the door.
Yeah, for everybody that's listening that doesn't know who Graham is Barrett's son. I'm probably his favorite person, right under his parents, but time will tell, I guess.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he's the best.
So we're into the College World Series now. Last night was the game that sent both teams to the finals. So do you have any more thoughts, kind of following up on last week's episode?
No, to be honest, I haven't even really watched any of the games. I seen the highlights of the game last night. Apparently, the ninth inning was pretty tough, but I haven't watched enough to really know exactly what's going on. Who do we got? Who you putting your money on?
LSU and Coastal in the finals. Both teams haven't lost a game. I believe Coastal's on a 26-game win streak, which is
Wow.
insane to go through postseason play undefeated with conference tournament, regional, super regionals, and obviously World Series stuff. So that's incredible. Yeah, they're hot. So that's a really cool story. And then LSU's best roster. Yeah.
They're the only two teams left,
Yes.
and
They start the final series either Friday or Saturday.
3-game series.
Yes.
Nice.
I believe it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
I'll have to watch that so we have something to talk about here.
Yeah, and LSU
Did
is
you
two of the best pitchers in the country lined up to go Saturday, Sundays.
did you watch the game last night? What happened?
I had it on while I was doing stuff. One of those typical games. It was a 1-0 in the 7th, and then the bullpen got involved, and it's 1-0 Arkansas, and LSU took the lead. And this kid Chase Shores from LSU, who sits 100, throws an 89-mile-an-hour breaking ball, just like we talked about last time. What is that? He came in and struck out some left-handed batter on 3 straight sliders. It's what? That's not cool when you throw 100. But he came in, and then the kid from Arkansas was pumping out 96 consistently, and they each gave up. Well, I think they each gave up runs. The kid from Arkansas did, and then so it's 2-1 LSU, and then somehow it ended up being 5-3 Arkansas in the 9th. And then what you saw in the highlights happened with getting base runners on. Possible double play situation that did not happen from a fielder's choice, and then the outfielder slipping and having the ball ricochet off of him to
Did
lose
the
the game.
outfielder slip after the shortstop went to
Yeah.
third base?
Yeah.
So everybody's pissed because they thought the shortstop should have turned two, because then the outfielder
Could have
let the ball
potentially
hit.
ended the game. There's one
Yeah.
out.
But then if the outfielder catches the ball, doesn't
over.
he end the game?
Yeah.
But everybody's mad at the shortstop for not turning two.
No, I don't think everyone's mad at the shortstop there. It was just kind of
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
maybe we should have tried to do it.
Yeah. I only saw those two plays on the highlights. I wasn't sure
We could tell.
in which order they happened, but obviously the outfield situation is extremely unfortunate.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how he feels today. Hopefully he has a solid group around him to help build him up, because that's not an easy thing to deal with, I'm sure. But as far as the shortstop play, in my opinion, it's if the first thing that went through his brain was to make the play that he made, the last thing I want him to do is catch it and be like, oh shit, throw it to second, and then do that, and now we got no outs,
Yeah, it looked like, total assumption here, just watching the game, it looked like he thought he was pulled more to his right than he was. And so, like,
Yeah.
as soon as he went that way, he was like, I'm going to get the out of third.
Yeah.
Which, again, makes some sense given the situation and the score. The ball seemed to be enough at him where he had a good chance to,
Yeah.
like the play, by the book would be going to second, trying to turn it.
Yeah. Monday morning quarterback's pretty easy. If the
Yeah.
outfitter catches the ball, no one's even talking
No one
about
probably
it.
says anything. Yeah.
No one's even talking about it. So that's a pretty unfortunate circumstance. So now LSU.
And that shortstop's, I mean, I don't know where he finished in the gold spikes vote, but was one of the best players.
He's top dog, right? Yeah.
Yeah. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's got to be one of the tops. Like I said, I haven't watched much of it, but everybody keeps talking about how good he is, so he's got to be
Decent.
one of the big dogs. Let's talk a little bit more about how the CISL's going so far. I know it's kind of a big situation right now during the summer. It's raining here every night. We've already touched on it in one of the earlier episodes, but it literally rains here every night. So how is the CISL doing?
Yeah, happy with it. Our guys are great this year, man. Like, really lucky with the way they come in and work. That makes it so much more fun, where you're not dragging effort out of guys, not dragging reps out of guys. They come in hungry every day. I think we're starting to see some development from some guys, some better swings, some better approaches, figuring it out. But there was one day last week where I don't think the pitching was particularly bad, but there was like a lot more barrels and guys doing damage in the box, which is good to see. It is a pitcher-friendly environment. I think being indoors always will be. Tunneling is a little weird, even though we open 2 cages up and it's a really big cage setting. I think being inside in a smaller environment favors pitchers. So with that being said, when guys are barreling balls, like, they're making adjustments now, which is great to see. So that's really cool. And then the pitching's one thing that's definitely picked up this year is just being able to get the ball in the zone. Obviously, velo's still king. We want that, but we got to be able to make some pitches in the zone and be aggressive that way. So what have you seen?
Yeah. One of the things I noticed early is there was just kind of a lot of walks. I think that similar to what you're saying about, like, it's probably more pitcher friendly. I think the first couple times that the pitcher is doing that, just because it's so different than being on a field. For me, at least, it's like, oh shit, this ball could come right back at me. We're like on the field,
That's
it's not
you can't
so
catch.
Yeah. On the field, it's so much like wider, and when I'm in there, it's like, oh, the ball's only coming at me, and so you get a little bit more iffy with, like, throwing your heater right over the dish and letting him hit it. For me, that kind of domes me up at first, and then once I get past that, like, I'm good.
I have a career
But
zero.
Yeah, well, you haven't faced me, so
We can raise it.
and I do have 7 show ABs, so I got a chance. That's all I'm
You
saying.
do have a chance.
I got a chance.
It will be easier than facing AJ Burnett.
Yeah, I hope so. Because if not, we'd be trying to get you a locker.
Well, I was gonna say I'm doing something wrong with my life.
Yeah. I forget what else I was gonna ask you about that. Oh, I don't know if you want to talk about this or not, but I'm gonna bring up the curve was just there.
Yeah.
Curve test. I don't fully understand what that is. Can you explain that to me and everyone
Absolutely.
else?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a group that, from the baseball side of things, led by Eric Backett, who's the head coach at Clemson, and he's put together this testing protocol to help create a standardized testing format for baseball players. So they want it to eventually be the SAT for baseball players and eventually get into other sports, because there's no standardized numbers. The college coaches are almost solely reliant on going and seeing kids with their eyes to double check what the data that's been sent to them, because in his instance, one of the things that brought this up was he was at a game somewhere and he was looking at the TrackMan data and what was happening on the field, and he's like, it doesn't make sense what was going on. And the mound was like 58.5 feet away from the plate. So he was like, well, I can't, like, the spin rates and the verticals and the velocities don't add up. And so he's like, well, I can't use any of this data, because what are we supposed to do? And I can't really get a good feel for the hitters because the guy's 2 feet closer than they should be. So you couple that with people just sending in select 1 or 2 pitches that are their biggest PRs ever. You can't trust stats in a high school or travel ball game because they don't have a real scorekeeper. So, who knows? The kid's hitting 450. Is it because his dad's keeping the scorebook, or because he hits everything on the barrel? It's hard hit. So they developed a system that bases specifically what we were doing here this week was the ball test for hitters. So we have TrackMan running, and like hack attacks feeding in balls. So it's the same pitch, same speed, same, with something that's coming in, same velocity anywhere you go. And then just registering off the TrackMan data, which is set up by proctors that have been, kind of certified to do it the right way. And so everything's more the same. So you're getting more reliable data. That's the idea is that it's valid and reliable. We know that it's set up properly. We know that it's standardized. We have unbiased proctors doing the exam. So being able to run through that, you get good data. And then the ball score for hitters is based off of line drive percentage, exit velo, barrel percentage, and a few other metrics. So it's not just like you go to a showcase, I had 106 exit velo. Well, I hit it at a -5-degree launch angle and it went right to the shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
And then my rest, I flared over the first baseman's head, foul. But what does it say in your write-up? 106 exit velo.
Right.
So they have results where some guys have some really high exit velos and their ball score is actually lower than other players because of the way it was produced or the quality of contact that the other guys made on the other tests. So it's averaged out better. And you're doing 3 sets of 8 swings. So you have a sample size of 24 as opposed to like one round of 6 or 8 or 10 at a traditional showcase setting. So I think it's really cool. And I know it's going to take off eventually. It's just people are, like you said, like they're like kind of like, what is it right now?
Yeah. What, so it's only for hitting?
No, they do it for pitching too. It's just obviously with a tournament, they're teamed up with Diamond Allegiance. There's a Diamond Allegiance tournament going on. So with the tournament going on, they can't have the pitchers come in and throw a bullpen, while they're pitching for their teams. You would have to do that separately. And it's the same idea for them as well.
Gotcha. Is it also telling you, is it like a mocap kind of thing, or is it strictly just results?
Right now, it's strictly results.
Okay, so there's no
but
mocap.
They have the ball. They have the ball, which is the easiest thing to do and the easiest the easiest part of the test to understand. They also have a body component and a brain component. The brain component's really cool and deals with basically how fast you can make decisions under pressure and some memory type executive function type tests. So that's awesome because obviously nothing really takes into effect about like how someone thinks about the game or doesn't think about the game, and their ability to make those split second decisions and as you would say, slow the game down. And then the body test, a Proteus is a big part of that, vertical jump, grip strength, and some, speed and agility type training. So you're getting a look at the overall power output and most importantly, like in the transverse plane. So rotating with the Proteus and seeing what kind of athlete the person is as well. So it's obviously combined. You have a brain body ball score and that's your overall picture of the player.
Gotcha. So it really is kind of like the SAT where it's like your math, your reading, and your writing. It's
what'd you get on the
combined.
SAT?
It's 60.
Wow.
Which I think is pretty good.
I had the under.
I hammered the math, but the reading, I can't read.
You got a 780 on the math and got like a 300
the math. I hammered the math. It was like outrageous, like almost a perfect score. And then the reading was like, does this guy, can he read? And my parents even got me I had like a tutor basically that taught me how to answer the questions without having to read it. You know what I mean? Like basically, yeah. The tutor was teaching me how to answer the questions based off of like how the SAT formats their questions, so that I didn't actually have to read the passage. I could like just go back and find the answers, kind of. And I couldn't even do that.
It's not great.
Pretty high score, so that worked out. And
too bad they didn't have like an audiobook version of the SAT. You'd have crushed that.
Murder. I never took the ACT though.
Neither did I. And I knew I was going to junior college, so I took it. I got a 1080. I took it once, and I didn't really prepare for it. I think they had like a free thing at our church, maybe. I don't know. And I went to a few times, but I didn't really do. I was like, I don't need to get.
Yeah, I was fully on board trying to get Bright Futures. I'm not sure if they still have that or not, but to
that's
get
a Florida thing, though. Yeah.
Yeah. To get my 75% Bright Futures.
Yeah. I
don't remember what the threshold was, but I had to get, whatever that was to like qualify for it. So that's why I got the tutor, because
it's an investment.
I needed all the help that I can. Yeah, I needed.
Did you get the 75%? Nice.
So then that obviously made it easier for college to give me the rest for baseball. Yeah,
I hate giving Dempsey any credit, but that's one thing he does a really good job of explaining to parents and the players is like this, like you're losing money and making yourself less recruitable by forfeiting your grades. So you like just keep a decent GPA and get the score you need to in the SAT. Like you don't have to be Albert Einstein, but like just do the basic stuff and you're going to make your baseball life way easier.
Yeah, would you rather buy a Ferrari for $200,000 or $30,000? Probably buy the one for 30 if it's the same car. So on that note,
And that just shows how
if
good
you're
you are at the math right there.
yeah, if you're listening to this and you are in high school and you play baseball, as important it is to be good at baseball, you're helping yourself out if you can get some good grades along the way. Because again, you're gonna
Just
buy
do what
that
you're supposed
200.
to. Yeah, just it really is that simple.
And it's not easy. Like student athlete is not necessarily an easy thing to do. It's like having two full-time jobs. But guess what? If you want to play, that's what you got to do. So,
Yeah, doesn't get easier in college.
and everybody has to do the same thing. So figure it out. At the very least, like I was never a good test taker, but
Same.
all my other stuff, like whatever busy work I was given, I always got the best grades you could get on that because I knew that my tests weren't going to be very good. You know what I mean? Like I've bad test taker, but busy work, hammer it. Yeah, but that's the curve thing. I never really fully understood it. I know I talked to you about it a couple different times, but it makes a lot more sense. And I love that they're doing like the brain part because as you know, that's like my, I don't want to call it my expertise, but
Yeah.
that's the thing that I love the most about the game. That's why I love the game. That's what I talk to like the younger players the most about is what's going on between your ears during this whole process. Because I think that is a lost art as far as like coaching and learning now because there's so much data.
Yeah, I got to do part of the brain test one time, but I was on like 3 hours of sleep. And so like the reactive cognitive thinking part was like pretty low. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if it's because I'm on 3 hours of sleep or if I'm just not good at that. So
Yeah, probably both.
I'll shotgun, triple shot espresso and get 8 hours of sleep and then go into a thing and see what happens.
Yeah, probably a little bit of both. But some people thrive under no sleep.
Yeah.
Or, whatever. I played with many people who sleep for 4 hours a night and are perfectly fine. And no way could I ever do that.
Yeah, that's insane for any extended period of time.
Doubt about it.
So we were talking before, you talked about the mental part of it, going back to the Arkansas outfielder, and you're helping some kids out with doing a more formalized program now and doing some like kind of almost like mental coaching with some high school kids. So what would Coach Shane say to that kid, coming off the field, last night, probably leave him alone, but this morning, what's the text message you're sending or what's the conversation you're having with him?
That scenario is, I don't know if I can relate to that scenario because although I have given up a walk-off homer, like his scenario, I think is closer to like missing the Super Bowl winning field goal. Like, and also in his scenario, probably the most people that have ever watched him play ever in his whole entire life was that moment. That was the biggest moment of his life so far.
And it's going to be replayed over and over again.
And it's going to be replayed for the rest of his life every time that there's a College World Series. I can't relate to that with a personal experience. However, I can sympathize for what he's probably going through right now. Like I can't even imagine. I mean, I've given up a walk-off homer and I know what my DMs look like. I can't imagine what kind of DMs he's getting. And he's in college and like, that age group is just way more ruthless, I would say, so
yeah. Don't really get it yet.
Yeah, like I think that the biggest thing for him is his circle. Like whoever his people are, like that's where they just kind of have to be there. Like we don't have to talk about it. Just be there, basically. Like essentially life goes on and time fixes everything. Like maybe let's go fishing or let's do something where I'm not thinking about this because for the rest of my life I'm gonna think about it probably.
Yeah.
Again, like even if I don't think about it ever again, fast forward till next World Series, there's you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
if
like
LSU or Arkansas plays in the World Series next year, they're going to show a highlight. Every time they play each other in the World Series, they'll bring it up.
No doubt. So, that is a very difficult thing to deal with, I'm sure. So hopefully I pray that he's got a very close circle around him of family and friends that are just there for him. That's all I could, if I was him, that's all I could really ask for. Like he's going to have to deal with it and hopefully it calluses his mind a little bit and, drives him to be bigger and better than he ever dreamed he could have possibly been. without having that moment. So essentially, like, I pray that he's able to hone in on that and use it as a strength to become something that nobody thought he could ever become in the first place. 20 years from now, he'll look back and say that that was the turning point in the best way possible. So, you know, I pray and I hope that that's the case for him. I wish I even knew his name just so I could stop calling him because, you know, he deserves that. But I didn't watch the game. I only saw the highlights. Again, I would love to talk to him. Actually, if I could have that opportunity, that would be. If somehow he hears this and can get a hold of me, I would love to just have a conversation with him about it, or tell him, you know, if nobody else is there for him, I'll be there for him. You know, I'll listen and I'll talk, and we'll together we'll figure out what's next. You know what I'm saying?
Trials should always make you stronger. That's
For
that's
sure.
the glass half full approach, or the silver lining is that out of this he should be better for it.
Yeah.
And that obviously that doesn't help in the next 2 weeks or a month or whatever, like whatever the time period of it is. That doesn't help you long term. It should, but I liked your idea of, you know, it's more of a infamy thing than like a chance to be famous, but it's attention. So hopefully it's something that can help him in some capacity one day with the attention that he received from this, and hopefully hopefully he has a lot going on in his life outside of baseball, and baseball isn't his idol. This is where I actually, you know, believe faith is so important in someone's life. Like, you know, to have, I don't know how people go through stuff like that if they don't have God, and if they're not like, even if it's like, God, what are you doing? What's wrong? What's wrong with what's going on here? And it's more of like a plea for help than it is like, oh, I know God's got me, and like a positive attitude about it. But I would love to hear it as a testimonial for him, like you're talking about at some point down the line, where it becomes a very positive event in his life and not something where he hangs his head about every time it pops up. Because dude, he's playing the World Series, like that's sick. I would love to have dropped the ball in the World Series. You know what I mean? Like, so you do have that going for you.
I just got goosebumps when you said that, because playing in the World Series is sick. And although it was a very unfortunate circumstance that he's dealing with, like, at the end of the day, played in the World Series. Like, that is something that not every baseball player, even there's guys in the big league Hall of Fame that never played in a college World Series.
Or a professional World Series. Like, they just,
No.
you know, weren't, yeah.
No doubt about it. So again, but to kind of touch on what you're saying about the trial part, like, is David Goggins if the first part of his life wasn't so shitty?
Yeah.
You know, probably not. You know, so the trials and the tribulations, obviously, like I said earlier, hopefully it calluses his mind and turns him into something that he never thought was even possible, you know. But I would love to, I'll say it again, because hopefully this clip goes viral and somehow he hears it and gets a hold of me and we can have a conversation, because I would love to have a conversation with him about it. And just, whether it's on the record or off the record, I don't really care. I would just love to talk to the kid.
Yeah. So how does that play in? I mean, to change gears a little bit with what you're doing with helping some baseball players on the mental side of things.
Well, I think,
or just explain what you're doing with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, just to like bring his situation into this, if I was having a conversation with him, I would be learning from him and his experience, and then taking that experience from him directly and then trying to create it as like something I can use to help someone else, because again, I haven't had that experience, you know. But as far as like what I'm currently doing, I'm working with younger players. I've done some minor league players that I've met through people and close friends or whatnot that have siblings, and maybe it's someone that they coached a few years back or whatever that are now in pro ball, or guys that I've met at RSP that I talk to, that I tell them, like, I've probably gone through what you're going through. There's not many circumstances that I haven't been through, just because of how my journey was. And I've tried everything in every scenario essentially. So like, I've probably tried what you're thinking about trying, so I can at least give you like my opinion on what it did for me. And again, like, I may not be right and I may not be wrong, but I can just give you my opinion on it, just so you have more information going forward. Because I use this analogy all the time, and I'll say here, like, if I'm a soup and you're a soup, right? And I'm tomato basil and you're French onion. Like, you could be the best French onion in the world, and I could be the best tomato basil in the world, but they taste completely different, but they're both soups. So the ingredients that you use to make those two soups are not even close to the same, but they're both the best soups that you can find, right? I look at like us as humans or baseball players as a soup, where I'll give you as many ingredients as I possibly can for you to put in your soup and see if it tastes good, and taste it. And if it doesn't taste good, spit it out. and don't use it ever again. But if you're like, oh, that might taste all right, then use that ingredient for a while and see how it goes. And then if it tastes really good, keep it. And your whole life, you're just finding more ingredients to put into your soup and try to make the best soup that you can possibly make. And so getting the younger players to like kind of understand that concept, and also understand that coaches are coaches because they want to help, but that doesn't always mean that they're right, you know? So understanding that like the coach does want to help. So that's a good thing. He's in your corner. He's not in your corner. So like,
there's never been a coach who's feeding you bad information out of malice.
for sure. And I wouldn't even say it's bad information. It's just like it's not clicking with the way he's wording it. Like the information is probably good. It's just sometimes you have to word it differently to get the result he's trying to get with the information he's giving you. You know what I mean? So like that's like the concept, I guess, of what I'm trying to help the younger player understand. But on top of that, also, as you know, like it's so important for these young players to just be confident and like
For sure.
believe the things that are coming out of their mouth and not ride the roller coaster of failure and success, especially with baseball, because the people that are the best at baseball are just the best at failing, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So like, how are they going to deal with that, and giving them tools to help them deal with that? And, you know, and like some of these guys that are in pro ball now, they've never played that many games in 1 year in their life. They have no idea. Like, you have a bad first month. Well, guess what, Bubba?
You get 5 more.
You got 130 games left. A lot. Like, even if you have a good first month, you got 130 games left. It can go south really quickly, you know? So figuring out how to create the mindset that you're constantly trending upwards, and that's going to be a little bit different for everybody, but the goal is to like be trending in that direction and helping the player understand what's going to help them personally do that. And then basically I'm just giving them like the tricks that worked for me, so that they can, or the ingredients essentially that worked for me, that so that they can put it in their soup, see if it tastes right, and if it works for them, awesome. And like the younger players start super basic with like positive affirmations and stuff like that. And then the older players, we can get a little bit more detailed with like your routines
What's
and
going on,
what
yeah.
you're, yeah, and like what are you actually thinking while you're out there, and this and that. But with the young players, man, it's so basic. Like you'll have a guy go, you know, whatever, 3 for 3 and think he's the best player in the world, and then literally the next day go 0 for 3 or 3 punchies and be like, what's going on? And it's like, well, you
play baseball.
Yeah, you play a really, really, really hard game. That's what's going on, you know? So it's not the end of the world. Like I said this a couple weeks ago to somebody, it's like, if you don't want to deal with the problems you're dealing with right now in baseball, then you should stop playing, because they're never going to go away. Like, there's never a moment where snap of the fingers, you hit 800 now for the rest of your life. Like, no. For the rest of your life, you're trying to get 3 hits out of 10 ABs. And that's if you're the best ever. So we have to focus on getting really, really, really good at being a failure, and then changing your mindset into thinking that those failures are actually successes. And then that's how you can create this mindset, because it's impossible to have this trending mindset when you're failing that often. So you have to redefine failure and redefine success in the game of baseball, so that you can start stacking successes on top of each other.
For sure. Have you noticed, is there like a trend with the people that you've worked with so far and been talking to, of like, it seems like 90% of the guys I've talked to have this problem or this negative thought that's constantly around, or anything that's been like pretty consistent with throughout?
For the older players, I guess it's probably for all the ages. Most of the players, their desire to be great is their biggest weakness, you know, and that's why they're so hard on themselves, and that's why they overthink. It's like we talk about, like, you see one player and you're like, oh, that guy's just dumb enough to play 10 years. You know, like that guy's just dumb enough to be a Hall of Famer. Like, that's a real thing, because they're able to simplify the game and not be so worked up and worried about every single thing that happens, and they can actually play the game, you know? So I'd say the biggest thing is probably that, like the overthinking and the overanalyzing at all the levels is, you know, like for example, guy's hitting, and he's playing in a field that's 420 dead center, and he hits an absolute rocket, you know, 418, and guy catches it and slams into the wall. Right? Now the hitter's going to come back pissed that he
Because it's
was
a home run in
playing,
the parks.
he's pissed because it was a homer in other parks, or he's pissed because if he would have just pulled it a little more, or he's pissed because that center fielder is the best center fielder in the game, or all these different things. It's like, no, 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 no. Let's focus on the fact that that
Should have missile.
pitch, yeah, that pitcher actually just got really lucky, and he better hope that he doesn't face you again because he got lucky there because that should have been a homer. Like just wording it that way will change your next AB. Or the guy that this happens in the CISL actually. One of the kids will like put together a decent AB and then like kind of barrel a ball, but then the hit tracks will say that it's a ground out or a line out even, and he'll be like pissed. And it's like, what are you mad about?
Yeah, the machine's gonna dictate how you go about your day.
Yeah, like what did you? Oh, you just wanted to hit a homer there, and if you don't, you're pissed. Like I don't understand. What are
Or
you
you'd
looking?
have been happy if you blooped a single, got sawed off, and blooped a single over the second baseman's head.
Yeah, so I don't completely. I do understand. Don't get me wrong, because I'm a baseball player, but that's what I'm trying to help. It's a different perspective from pitching because it's easier for me to be like, well, I could hang 3 curveballs in a row and strike you out. And then I could also throw 3 bangers and give up a homer. What am I trying to do?
Well, it's kind of the same thing with hitting, though. You can take a really good swing and the pitcher just made a better pitch.
For sure.
And then you can take a bad swing and you can kind of, you can be late and barrel a ball to right center and it's a double. And it's
No doubt.
I wasn't really like on that, but it still was a good result. So
Yeah, so it's like, what was your job? Did you do your job? And if you do your job every single time, you'll probably be in the Hall of Fame. Like as a pitcher, if you have a rough inning and you battle through it and they don't score, as much as you want to be like, I can't walk that guy with 2 outs,
yeah.
or 4 pitch walks are gonna kill me, or I didn't have my best stuff or whatever. It's like, no, well, maybe all those things are true, but if you focus on the positive part, which is you didn't give up any runs, if you do that every single time forever, you're the best person that's ever played. So let's focus on that part.
Yeah, I had a huge breakthrough. I mean, this is peanuts when it comes to like level of play, but my last summer hitting, last time like I actually hit consistently, all grown up, I was always afraid to strike out. And so that made me afraid to swing and miss, which means I took a lot of pitches. I tried to draw walks, tried to put the ball in play, wasn't taking aggressive swings. And when I was like, oh, I'm not hitting ever again, I just want to try to mash. Like I just, like take daddy hacks and see what happens. I hadn't seen pitching. I was coming back after my freshman year of college, so I didn't hit that spring. So I hadn't seen live pitching in a while, which means I hadn't seen breaking balls. And I was like, I'm just going to hit fastballs. And that meant that sometimes someone would throw me like a 0-0 slider in the dirt and I'd swing and miss by 4 feet. And then I'd laugh. And I'd be like, all right, well, now I know what it looks like. Like I can, like that's coming again. So I'd wait for it again, or I'd be like, this is when a fastball's coming. And then I'd hit it hard. And that's how, like, that was my approach that summer. Where if someone threw me 3 really good breaking balls, I was probably striking out. And I'd go back to the deck and be like, I'll just wait for that next time if it's that good and like work around it and adjust to the fastball. I would change my mindset like a little bit, like statistically, mentally, like, I would guess my, looking at today's stats, like my average exit velo was like 20 miles an hour harder, something ridiculous than any other season I'd played, because I was like aggressive and didn't care. Like I'm never hitting again, so I'm just gonna try. Like I want to try to hit up home runs. I want to try to punish the ball. I don't care about like blooping the ball over someone's head. And so that was an eye-opening thing to me. Looking, trying to help athletes now, it's like that approach is so simple. And then, looking at things like Josh Johnson's MVP season that he had, someone pointed out, I think your boy, Derek Dietrich pointed this out to me. Josh Johnson's MVP season, he hit like whatever the advanced sabermetrics or the advanced analytics is for hitting fastballs. He was like out of this world. Any off-speed pitch, he was below MLB average on that year.
Yeah,
so he just did all of his damage. He just only did damage on fastballs, and everything else he was a below average player. And it's like, that's how simple this is. He was and I think he had 320 with 45 that year, something insane. So just being able to do that and understand that, like, hey, let's simplify this thing. Let's take away part of the play. Let's take away 2 or 3 pitches. Let's just focus on one thing, can really elevate your game. And same thing from the pitching side. Like, if you're not worried about your velocity, if you're a pro guy and you have some decent velocity and you're not worried about what the radar gun says every time, and you're just worried about like, if I execute my pitch every time, I'm going to get everybody out. That's really good. If there's something where it's like, oh, if I think about this, then I hang my slider. Well, it's like you're kind of defeated already, because then you're going to think about that. Just focus on the one or two things of like, I'm going to hold the ball this way, I'm going to throw it as hard as I can, and that's when good things happen. And if you throw a 3-2 slider in the dirt and you walk somebody because of it, okay, next guy. Like, just don't do that as many times as you throw it, and it clips the bottom of the zone. So yeah, that mindset, it's real. The younger you are, the harder it is to understand that mindset in anything. Because it's like, you could relate to talking to girls, right? Like, when you're 30 and you're single and you have some one-liner at a bar and a girl laughs at it and like laughs in your face about it and like walks out, you're like, man. But if that happens at 17, you're like devastated for weeks.
Yeah.
Or at least I was. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just completely different. Like, with anything, as you grow up, you understand what matters and what doesn't. You can kind of shake that off. But for younger kids, I think what you're saying is really, really important. And just being able to kind of quantify that their weekend where they went 1 for 12 in the scheme of things means nothing.
So you got to zoom out, man. Zoom out and look at it.
Which is advice now you give to yourself a lot, right?
I do my best. You help me a lot with that, but I definitely do my best. I think.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I think like overall, it's simplify your thoughts, control your breath, and try to be great at what you're good at. Don't try to be good at everything. Like you said with Donaldson, he was great at making sure that fastball was going to get whacked, and obviously he did that. And I heard him say one time, once MVP, always MVP. So congrats to him for that, Mr. MVP.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Overall, man, I'll say it again. Wrap this thing up. Keep it simple. Control your thoughts. If you can't control your thoughts, you'll never control the game. So start with controlling your thoughts.
Or life.
You're
really, probably going to get run over by life pretty good if you can't control your thoughts.
Yeah, your thoughts are your reality. So control those first, and then you can kind of start to control everything else. I'm going to dial in. One other thing.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say I'm going to dial in on the rest of the College World Series because I should.
Yeah.
And
it's good stuff.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that next week.
The one thing I was going to end on, too, back to the whole positive thinking, is I had a stretch of like 2 weeks where we test jumping every day, measure vertical jump, and see where you are with like a central nervous system and whatnot. And I had a stretch where I was going up to guys, and they'd be like, "What's your PR?" And they tell me their PR. And I'd be like, "Do you believe you can jump?" And kids said 24 inches. "Do you believe you can jump 25 inches?" "Oh, I think so." I'd be like, "No. Do you believe it?" And they'd be like, "Yeah." And I'd be like, "Take a second. Envision yourself jumping 25 inches. Go." And the kid would PR 9 times out of 10. And it's just like, shows how much that we hold ourselves back, like physically, because of our mental state. And so it's kind of a stupid thing that doesn't matter that much. But again, it's a good example of how we limit ourselves and how we have a governor going on in our head that we don't realize is there.
Yeah. What is it? The man who says he can't and the man who says he can are both right?
Yep.
So one with that, the man who says he can and the man who says he can't are both correct. This was an enjoyable podcast, Mr. Stover.
Good.
Looking forward to the next one, sir.
Yeah.
I will see you soon. Over and out.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Yeah. See ya.